can't say this enough. We do not pretend like we know everything about it. That's why every episode we invite experts, guests, celebrities, anybody who knows way more than I do, just to empower us and take us through what this beauty industry is about. And of course, the exciting bit about our show is that we also get to invite you. Yes, you get to be a part of the show. And how you've been doing that is by submitting your videos onto my WhatsApp line, 068-051-5462, where you've told us who you are, your story, and what topics you'd like to weigh in. And it's been amazing connecting with you. Our WhatsApp community is growing. And guys, if you want to advertise on the show, it's the same line that you hit me up on, 068-051-5462. This is what we're here for. We're in the business of basically defining how the everyday person, which is you and I, defines beauty for ourselves. And I'm very, very, very excited about today's topic. You know, as South Africa, we come from a very diverse country with different cultures and ethnic groups and races and gender. And here at The Girl Next Door, we advocate for celebrating our differences, but particularly also what brings us and makes us one nation. And this is why we're very excited about today's conversation. We want to empower ourselves around the idea of owning the skin that you're in. I have very exciting guests today, virtually as well as in studio. I'm so excited to introduce to you my first two gentlemen who are very handsome, if I might just say so myself. I've been trying to keep it together, but asikolapo. I will start by introducing the very first guest, who is a TV presenter and a model. Please help me welcome Usimba Gozo. Thank you so much for coming. And the crowd applauds! Of course. And I mean, the next...
Thank you for having me, yes.
Thank you so much for being here. And our next guest, I mean, is no stranger to the television space. He plays a very, very, very sexy brother on Scandal on ATV. He plays Quentin Yati. Please help me welcome Brighton Goma. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. I'm in the company of really, really, really sexy men. And, you know, I think, let me just start with you, Simba.
Yes.
You know, just for people who might not know you and your work and where you're from, just take us through who Simba Gozo is. And
wow.
You know, what
How
is
much
your
time have you
story? You know, just take us a little bit about who you are and where you grew up and whatnot.
All right. So I'm originally from Zimbabwe, but was raised in South Africa.
Okay, where in Zimbabwe?
Harare.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And I grew up in South Africa, I would say in Turfloop first, and then Petersburg, which is now known as Polokwane.
Yeah.
And then moved on to Swaziland for high school, and then it came back to Pretoria, then from Pretoria to Vanderbijl Park, and then from Vanderbijl Park.
Okay, I'm sorry, we don't have that much time. I'm kidding.
All right. I started off, you know, tertiary. I studied information technology engineering. Worked my way up the ladder into corporate South Africa as an IT project manager.
Okay.
Got depressed, didn't like it, quit my job, chased my dream. I look like it's because of my daddy, so gotta thank him, you know.
Okay.
He's in heaven. Thank you, daddy, for the looks. Thank you for the body. So I made money out of it.
Okay, cool.
And became a model. I only did it because I became confident at that point. At that point, I was like, I wasn't sure about myself.
Okay.
I wasn't very comfortable in front of the camera. I wasn't comfortable just being myself.
Okay.
Until I learned to love myself, that's when I was able to, you know, get this extra bit of confidence that allows me to go out there and chase my dreams.
I mean, I want to actually come in at that particular point because I don't know, how old were you? Because I'm assuming just moving, I mean, you were quite nomadic by just history. What was it like growing up and, you know, having to move to different places and understanding yourself as somebody who's living with albinism, and also then coming into yourself and then getting into a sense of confidence? At what point did you own that space for yourself?
Say around 24.
Okay, cool. And what was that process like? What is the conversation? What does it sound like in your head?
So My mother, since I was young, kept preaching, and instilling confidence in me, telling me, there's nothing wrong with me.
Okay.
Just a child. God, no one can stop, because I got teased and bullied a lot.
Okay.
To the point I became the bully.
Okay.
And I was a
That's quite
bad bully.
interesting.
Because I've always been tall and larger than most, so it was easy for me. But I
Okay.
did it as a coping mechanism so that no one bullied me.
Oh,
It's
wow.
not that I wanted to bully. It's like, I don't want to be teased today, so let me beat up the first guy I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they talk about me behind my back, no one did it in front of my face, because I'd hit you.
Okay.
So you end up growing up and like, hey man, I've been a terrible person. Like,
Okay.
the pain I felt, I've now transferred it to other people. Now I'm projecting what I feel onto other people.
Okay.
Which is what I'm also destroying other lives at the same
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
So at that point, when I figured out, when I was in my early 20s, is that, okay, you know what? I know what I want to be.
Yeah.
How do I get to that point? A lot of self-reflection, a lot of self-development, a lot of going back to the drawing boards and saying,
Okay.
this is who I am. I'm only here because I've been told I'm good at this.
Okay.
I was told I was good at computers. Not that I enjoyed it. I was good at it. But it's not
Okay.
something I enjoyed. There was no passion.
Okay.
So until I found what I loved doing, what I loved doing was helping people.
Okay.
So if I could model and put a picture out there, and someone else with albinism sees it and says, look at us, they're looking at us in a different light now.
Okay.
We're not ugly, we're not weird, we're not strange.
Okay.
That's me making my change. That's my advocacy type
Yeah,
of thing,
yeah.
That's me advocating for albinism. I do it differently. You won't find me in the street marching, because I've got my own views on that.
Yeah.
If you want to make change, you got to show change.
Okay.
Right? You got to stand up and let them know, okay, here's someone with albinism. If I walk in a room, I try my best to, stand tall and be sexy and good looking, project myself well.
Yeah.
Where I confuse you, because, the whole thing is that people expect me to be shy
Yeah.
and afraid, but I'm not. Internally, I'm a loud person.
Yeah.
I'm crazy, I'm loud. And I've been able to do this through what I love.
Okay.
Also, I'm an actor now.
Ooh, do share. This is the platform to
now.
just put it out there. That's so cool. Okay, cool. I mean, do share though. I mean.
So I'm in, the biggest thing now, I'm in blood sounds.
Oh, and how's that been for you? Because I just feel like being in the modeling and media space, there's a misconception of the standard of beauty and whatnot. Do you feel that, coming into that space, that they treat your representation in the whole, production very differently, or do you feel that we're slowly defying those kind of conceptions?
It depends on what production. I've worked in a lot of productions. So I've done a lot of TV ads as well, acted there and stuff. But on this particular one, on Blood Psalms, I think everyone's got some experience where we just treat people the same way.
Okay.
I never felt like I was being mistreated or getting special treatment.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, here comes Simba. They knew my needs. They knew, okay, I can't be in the sun for long. So there was an umbrella and sunblock. They kept asking, should you give you some more?
Yeah.
So they did their homework, which I appreciate, because some people don't understand that.
Yeah.
So I get onto set and we're in the sun. I'm like, guys, I need an umbrella.
Yeah.
These are my requirements. And it's written. I've told you, just make sure there's an umbrella. I'm not asking for an umbrella boy or an umbrella girl. I'm just saying, I'll hold it myself. I don't
Protection,
mind.
yeah.
Yes, but my skin is very important to me, and how I look after it is very important to me. It's how I make money. That's why I'm there, because I got
I'm here to
good
make
skin.
change. And Brighton, I know you from working with you on ETV and whatnot, and I think you have a different kind of journey. With somebody
very different.
who was not necessarily born with. I always struggle. Is it vitiligo or vitiligo?
It's vitiligo.
Vitiligo.
It doesn't really matter.
Does it matter?
No.
Okay. What
It's
is
V.
it for the layman person on on the street who might not understand the scientific or medical sort of definition of it? How would you describe what is it? What is it exactly? And what was the process like for you?
Yeah.
Being an adult and then having to kind of come into it and understand, this is what's happening to me. What was it like?
Yeah. Look, firstly, I can only hope to define it in some sort of medical or smart kind of way. But in layman's terms, it's the dying of your melanin.
Okay.
Of pigment,
Okay.
essentially, of pigment cells. They haven't found a reason why yet. I haven't
Really?
I haven't really researched why. The more peace I've made with it, the more I've kind of let go of that side of it, and the need to know if there's a cure, all of that sort of
Did
stuff.
you feel like you went through that in the beginning?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of people might not know. I have like a degeneration of like my eyesight as well.
Really?
Yeah. And when I then learned about it, I remember being very, very like obsessed with everything that I need to know about what's available, the
Yeah.
stem cells, and da 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 da. And then you realize, no, hang on, like, oh, I just need to know how to live with it.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Do you feel like you were kind of upset? You became obsessed with understanding what was happening to you?
There were a lot of insecurities around it in the beginning.
Okay.
I even remember going to production and saying, listen, I'm freaking out. It's becoming more rapid. This was about 6-7 years ago, I think.
Okay.
You may recall we did some road shows
Yes.
together, and I used to wear gloves and things,
Yeah.
and just to kind of hide, because it started spreading a lot quicker on my hands.
Okay.
And I thought I could hide that with, trying to look cool, and it was just cheesy. It was weird. It was very weird. And it'd be hot, and I'd be the only one wearing gloves.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on?
It was bizarre.
Yeah.
So I went to production, and they said to me, the more you highlight it, or the more you want to talk about it, the more attention you're going to get.
Correct.
So I thought, okay, never mind. Let's not talk about it.
Okay.
So for the longest time, I went through life just going, don't worry about what people. Don't worry how people look at you. Don't worry people don't understand it. Just make a joke about it until I started understanding myself more and more what it is. I now have to protect my skin. I didn't think I needed to ever, because I was sort of, what do they call it, cappuccino?
Yeah,
You're colored. Let's just call it colored, for lack of a much smarter term. So now I'm having to research, like, oh, okay, cool. It's not just about like SPF 30. It's like SPF 1000 now, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm not used to looking after myself, let alone my skin, that much. So I am learning. I'm relearning myself and the condition. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting, because I'm assuming that it's not the conversations that you have with yourself, it's also conversations with family
Yeah.
and people. I mean, did you find that there was a lot of misconception with your own family, that they were like, oh my God, something else is happening to you? Or do you find that people were quite receptive to, because this is what the power of this conversation is,
Yeah.
like really demystifying
Yeah.
how the narrative behind understanding what we don't know.
Yeah.
Did you find that your family and friends and people around you, it was a bit of a challenge kind of making them, like sanitizing them into it to say, listen, it's not what you think it is?
Yeah. Look, like I said, because I'd kind of established a sense of, don't ask, don't tell kind of thing.
Yeah.
My family just respected that.
Okay.
Certainly family, and then very close friends.
Okay.
The outer circles, there's a naivety, and there's
Ignorance.
an ignorance about it, like for instance that it's contagious. That
Don't touch it.
You know what I mean? Like people,
Really?
people like suddenly have a spot and go, did you touch me? Did you?
No
Yes.
way.
And then I went with that because I've got a twisted sense of humor, as you may recall.
I just.
So I went with that. I used to, and that was how I dealt with ignorance. It was just with a great sense of humor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to actually bring my virtual guest on board, because I think it's quite important that we backpack on some of the points that were put onto the table right now. Please help me welcome Tebatso Mashishi, who's also not a stranger to the television space. He's well known for playing his character on Mobango. Please help me welcome. He's also been on Matwetwe as well. Tebatso, thank you so much for joining us. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on this platform.
Thank you so much for allowing us to have a conversation with you. I think it's important to bring you on board because, I worked on Mobango as well from the production perspective. And did you find that, working on a mainstream soapy like Mobango, which is a cultural and traditional show, and I think tradition sometimes encourages, we're only starting to kind of advocate for asking questions and pushing boundaries in that space, but do you find that coming into a show like Mobango and playing a main lead character that, you have found the discourse around living with albinism changing for you? What has your experience been as an actor on a very big platform like Mobango been?
To start with, I'm not really a believer in albinism, and And the fact that, like, when you say that, like, somebody's leaving with albinism, like, for me, it 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 really it didn't make sense for me, because when I did my research, it's like albinism is like a combination of two words, which is albino and ism, which is, an ism is a condition. You know what I'm saying? So when people are saying that now people are not supposed to be called albinos and people should be called people living with albinism, I'm like, I'm not living with anything. Like, I'm just a human being, just to, to get that point across. But it has been really amazing being part of the show. Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm quite interested because this is why this conversation is important in terms of deconstructing how we have conversations about things that we don't understand. How have you defined that for yourself then? I mean, I'm assuming that in your space, because you are seen as a celebrity, you consistently meeting the community, and then you'll have people who are like politically correct, this is how you define it and whatnot. How do you advocate the conversation? How do you then have a conversation with somebody and say, listen, this is what it actually looks like and this is what it sounds like from somebody who is young and whatnot? How do those conversations sound like in spaces when you meet your fans on the streets and they're like, oh, Tibato, you inspire me, you're living with albinism. What is the first thing that you correct about that misrepresentation, as you have put it?
I mean, what I love about these two roles that I've played, one in Madrid and the one that I'm playing in Lubango, is that what stood out was like my talent, and it was never even about like how I look, And I just want to be. I define myself as like, I'm just uniquely black. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like once the whole you having albinism, it's like now the albinism takes the shine from me as a human being. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the discussions becomes about, oh, he has albinism and all of those things. But now they start overlooking the acting and you as a human being. So that's why I don't really like having myself as a human being and albinism like in the same sentence, because because if you look at the history of the word and how it came about, and it's just, scientifically, yes, it could be that, but it cannot be something that defines me. You know what I'm saying? Like, Debato is a person living with albinism. Like, it's like somebody who's, living with AIDS, or somebody, you know what I'm saying? So it comes across as you are living with this thing, you know what I'm saying? And this ism goes along with the other isms like alcoholism and tribalism and all of that. And that cannot be like a measure of a human being. So I just want to be called like uniquely black, or just black.
I love that, because it's always seen as a schism. It's like a word I always use. As soon as people don't understand something, then it's literally you throw it in the schism bin. I don't know if you want to say something.
Yeah, I want to join it. Tabato said something very important.
Yeah.
That his acting and who he is was seen before his condition.
Yeah.
And that's something that, we've been fighting for.
Yeah.
If you go back in history, every time you saw someone with albinism, right, on TV, it was because of that. It wasn't because that they are good looking or they speak well or they actually can do the job.
Yeah.
So when he says that the roles he plays have nothing to do with the color of his skin or his appearance, that's very important. That's a big win for society as a whole.
Yeah.
That we are, accepting that we all are different. We're all different shades. We're all different shapes. We all come from different places.
Yeah.
We're just human beings. Like my favorite analogy is that, you got a box of,
Smarties. I've heard that one, but please do take us through it.
I don't even know how to say Smarties, because they didn't pay. So you got a box of Smarties, and they're all different colors, right?
Yeah.
But no matter which Smartie you bite, they all taste the same.
Correct.
And that's what we are. We're just a box of Smarties. Some of them are even attached to each other.
Yeah.
And then we say it's deformed. It's not deformed. That's what it's supposed to be.
It came.
Yeah. So I agree with them totally. Obviously, we live in a world of labels.
Yeah.
Everything has a name. So
Yeah.
as much as you want to fight the whole albino thing, because people say, don't call me an albino because an albino is a thing, I'm not a thing.
Yeah.
Yes, when I understand how some people can get touched by that, but at the end of the day, we're living in a world full of labels.
Yeah.
Everything is
Yeah.
labeled. We can't get away from it.
Yeah.
The moment we own who we are and own our space, that is when we win.
Yeah. And we give power to words.
I think it's in a world that's obsessed with black and white, right and wrong, this and that, opposites,
Contrast.
very contrasting things.
Yes.
It makes perfect sense that anybody with vitiligo or albinism. I don't know how you feel about being
albinism,
called,
yeah. But
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it confuses people,
Yeah.
especially small-minded people. Like that, like why you're even more different than you know what I mean? Like a white person is, or a black person feels about a white person, and vice versa and stuff. I'm cool with being uniquely unique.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really cool with
We're
that.
so obsessed with boxing each
Yeah.
other just as a way to understand ourselves in the world,
Yeah.
which I find is quite unique in this conversation that we're having. Guys, if you want to weigh into the conversation, please join the conversation on my WhatsApp line, 0680515462. We have more guests after the break. Please do not go anywhere.
Forehead matching, nose tone matching, cheek tone matching, chin. Want to know how to get such even and lovely skin?
That's how Even and Lovely Advanced Multivitamins introduces spots and dark patches to give you even-toned glowing skin. Even and Lovely.
Forehead.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. If you missed the first break, where the hell were you? Okay, I have a very amazing guest in studio and virtually as well. If you did miss the first half, I will take you through it. We have Brighton Goma, who is no stranger to the screen. You know him as Quentin Nyati on Scandal. Yes. And we also have Simba Gozo, who's also a TV presenter, also an actor now,
Yes.
and model, and he's got the voice to go with it. He joins us in studio, and we also have Tebatso Mashishi, who's also a very popular actor on Mobango, and you should know him from the very, 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 very infamous local film Matwetwe. Thank you guys for being a part of the conversation. I just want to weigh in a different angle to the conversation. I just want to play a video from a parent, Matidiso, who is basically who is raising a young girl who is living with albinism, and I just think it's quite important, some of the things that she says. Please, let's just have a look and hear with the video that's about to play right now.
Hands of Love Foundation, where we're educating our communities about the albinism condition and that stigma and myth must fall, as this condition is still misunderstood by many. We work with different organizations also in our community. Sekula Ganjalo, we have worked with them. And also my personal experience as a mother, we also instill confidence in her that she can achieve whatever she wants to be in life. There's been challenges and people always stay. And she goes to a mainstream school and live her life as normal. Ginelo is very comfortable in her own school, in her own skin, and doing very well at school as she's a top learner. And to me, being comfortable to your skin means embracing your look. As we all look different, being comfortable in your skin is not being put off by negative opinions or misconceptions that other people have about you.
That was Matidiso, who runs an NPO, and she's raising a young girl living with albinism. And I think this is the perfect time to also bring on board Ingrid Bami, who advocates for everything albinism and works in that space. And I think it will be nice to just have a female voice weighing into the conversation. So Ingrid, thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear me?
Hi, Lolo. How are you?
Very, very well. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. And please correct me. I think that's the whole point of the conversation. The line of work that you do, can we best describe it as albinism advocacy? How would you basically term the work that you do in the space?
I think personally, when I first got into everything relating to albinism, I think it was first relating to, when you actually just go online, when we're just talking from a broader perspective, when you go online, when you go into Google and you just go Google albinism or albinism in Africa, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
The imagery and the stories that you get are those of a negative context, but also it is the reality of what's happening in and around Africa. We are aware of the fact that we have people with albinism whose lives are at risk, who are actually living in communities where they aren't accepted within their communities because of their condition, people that are being outcasted in their family because they have albinism. And, as much as we have people with albinism that are doing really great in their lives, we also have those that are on the other side of the spectrum that is not really from a negative context. But like the conversation that you guys were having earlier on with Dabato and Simba, is that we do have people with albinism that are honestly just living their best life. But more often than not, within our society, when we think albinism, we think of the negative narrative. We think about how we have these people that have this weird skin that doesn't look like everyone else, that is super, super pale, but they happen to be African and they also happen to be black. And there's this whole confusion around it, and not just from a South African perspective, but from a whole African perspective. So within the line of work that I do, because I was someone who was privileged to be in spaces where when I met people were very pleased to meet someone who has albinism and say, oh, you look so good, you look so well, the other ones look so weird, and it was a sense of,
Wow.
like, literally it is that the other ones look so weird, they don't look as pretty like as what you do, or their skins isn't as smooth as what your skin is. And it was a matter of the message that is out there around persons with albinism is a message that has a negative connotation to it. And I felt an obligation personally to be like, how do we change that narrative that the moment you think albinism, you think of someone who looks like Simba, or you think of a model and an activist like your Tando Hoppers, we think of your Sean Rosses, as opposed to thinking of, oh, shame, it's these ones with, with this weird skin, and having to change that narrative within Africa so that when someone with albinism walks out into the street, people don't treat them in a way that isn't acceptable, in a way that isn't of a positive nature, but if anything, and be like, oh, okay, cool, there's someone who has albinism, and we go about life and create normalcy around it instead of it being a taboo subject like how it is in a lot of places within different parts of Africa. And I guess that's how I came about creating I Am Movement, which is a social media platform where I basically highlight stories about persons with albinism who are doing amazing work within their own right, whether they're in the arts, whether they're academics, whether they're doing whatever, but it's a positive narrative of saying, yes, sure, I have albinism, but these are the things that I'm doing with my life, and this is the representation. This is how I'm representing myself as Ingrid, firstly, before I'm representing myself as Ingrid with albinism. And I guess that's where the whole passion behind it has come, in changing the narrative and changing the perspective, the African perspective specifically, on how it is that we have our ordinary society viewing people that have albinism, or people that have vitiligo, or even people with disabilities, just breaking those stereotypes that are associated with these labels that we usually attach to different people all around, basically. Yeah, if I had to put it.
Yes, I absolutely love it. And I think you've just hit a really important point to the conversation, which is beauty standards, and who defines beauty standards, especially particularly in this space. And I find that very interesting because it always comes from the mainstream, who decides you don't look that weird compared to the next person, and that's what's so important about this conversation, just really getting to the nitty-gritty of, no, but who's the other, and who is the gaze, and I think us as media personalities and people who produce work, it's our responsibility to kind of be very conscious about how we represent and the kind of discourse we advocate in our representation, in the characters that we create and whatnot. But I actually want to just maybe speak to you, Brighton, because you have a child as well, you know? And I don't know how old your child is, but how do you have a conversation? Because I feel like it also starts on that level, having a conversation at home with your kids about understanding, and how do you articulate and how do you say this is what it is so that they start to understand it on that level, you know?
I do have a son, Liano,
Okay.
and he's 4.
Okay.
Very smart, a little too smart, for me at least.
Okay.
Weirdly enough, recently, Tsepi and I just did, as an exercise, it was like a fun thing. We were like, what color is mommy? And he said brown,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And mommy said, what color is daddy?
Yeah.
And he said brown. And we were like, that's so cool, that's so cool. But then you don't want to make him, there's a fine line between like, I'm so proud of you for saying the right thing, I guess, but also you don't want him to think that that's the way to think. Or it's about color or anything.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. I have no answer or no solution to that.
Okay.
I'm not going to run away from it, obviously. I'm not going to avoid it. I'm not going to not talk about it.
Okay.
But when he's old enough, I'm going to allow him to ask questions, and I'm going to answer them as best as I can.
And it's so interesting because it almost borders on, like I have a son as well. And I remember him asking me a conversation about race, because it's almost like a race thing. Like, when do you have a conversation about like, you're kind of different, and, this is a different race. And how do you speak about it in such a way that he doesn't understand it as some kind of discrimination?
Yeah.
Or not, You're a father as well.
Yes.
I mean, how have you had conversations with your children about albinism?
So my daughter is 10 years old and my son is 5.
Okay.
My daughter, when she was about, I think, 4 or 3, she's very smart, like you said, too smart.
Yeah.
These kids are very
They
smart.
all are these
She started
days.
asking questions like,
Yeah.
Daddy, you white and mommy's brown.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So I explained to her, no, I have albinism, I've got a condition. I'm just like you, my skin doesn't turn brown.
Yeah.
And since that day, she's been like one of my biggest fighters. When other kids, ask questions or say some nasty things about me, she would tell them, no, my daddy has albinism, there's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
I found that very sweet. It was like a bit heartwarming.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Because as a kid, I went through a lot of teasing because of my condition, because kids are honest and they mean, but that's how they are.
Yeah.
So it's been very interesting with her, because I think it was easier because my older sister's in a mixed relationship. So her husband is white.
Yeah.
So for a long time, my daughter thought daddies are white and mummies are brown, because that's what she saw, So she was like, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Because then she also asked, does Uncle Patrick also have albinism? I'm like, no, he's white. So it was one of those things where you just like, you go with it, but you tell them what they can handle at that age. And as they get older, obviously they'll have more questions.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, we actually have a
Very.
caller on the line who wants to weigh in on the conversation. Caller, I think it's Ntabi saying, if I'm not mistaken. Ntabi saying, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
How are you, girl? I'm so happy we have another female
thanks.
voice.
How are you?
Great. I'm so happy we have another female voice. How do you want to weigh in on the conversation?
Okay, so I was watching the Matsiri's story, on albinism and raising a child with albinism. And I was so inspired by that, about the importance of being comfortable in your own skin. Albinism is like seen as a stigma, or people often discriminate because they don't really understand, or like what it's all about, and it's a nice reminder that, at the end of the day, regardless of these conditions, we're all the same, we're all human with the same heart and made in God's image. So I'm very interested in learning more about the foundation, the Hands of Love Foundation. So, like, how do people join? How can we access it?
I do know that she advocates quite a lot. I mean, the virtual space has definitely also taken over, but I will definitely share her NPO details on my page, and I think she would love the fact that you want to get involved. And I think that's the power of this conversation, because it's not it's not supposed to be exclusive to a specific kind of people. And I love what you're saying, because you are empowered by the conversation, because I feel like not understanding something does not mean that you can't connect better and want to add to the movement. Basically, what Ingrid is also advocating on the continent. I will definitely share the details on my page in terms of the work that she does. But thank you so much for giving us a call. Any last words that you might want to add to the gentleman in the studio?
Nothing more. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Ntabi saying. Okay, cool. I think it's quite empowering that we have a lot of people who are not afraid to ask questions. And I find that that's probably what is the stumbling block when it comes to propelling conversations. Because people think that it's very awkward to say, hey, Brighton, why do you look like that?
And it's literally like, so what happened?
What is it about?
You know,
Dude.
Again, you know, and whose responsibility is it? Is it us as people who are, you know, who are coming from the outside to be able to advocate for that kind of approach? Or do you find that it's the people who are on the inside to say, hey, it's okay to ask questions and whatnot? Whose responsibility is it to change the narrative?
I think it goes both ways.
Okay.
I think it goes both ways. I have to be honest. For the longest time, my defense mechanism was just make a joke of everything, as it's deal with everything with humor.
Yeah.
Right. And for instance, you were asking about getting burnt and whatever, or you mentioned it. I told some guy that I don't know, I was rescuing a puppy or a kitten in a vat of boiling oil.
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's why. And he was like, cool, that's so cool. Dude. I was like, yeah. Also, you need to get educated or something. You know what I mean? You need better friends or whatever. But I do think it's from both. So my point was, the older I'm getting, the more I'm understanding that, like, not everything can be dealt with humor. Not everything can be sort of brushed off with a specific understanding or an outlook of life, which is my outlook of life.
Yeah.
I am educating myself more and more on how to talk to people, how to be more approachable, because I think also the fame thing, you know, when people stare at you, you're not sure if it's that guy thinks I'm staring at his girlfriend, or if it's he's recognizing me from TV, or he's weirded out by my skin. It's just like a whole dilemma of things. But like I'm saying, the older I'm getting, the more grounded I'm becoming.
Yeah.
If that's even humble to say such a thing.
Yeah.
The more I'm realizing it's also my responsibility to go, okay, cool. People are going to be ignorant. People are going to be miseducated, not educated enough. So, you know, it is partly my responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
And especially being an actor, I mean, I don't know what your aspirations are outside, you know, acting and producing. Do you feel that there's a space for you to produce work that advocates and makes sure that in a subliminal kind of way? Because I love what Dabatso is basically keep reiterating, that it's talent first, then representation, which is a completely different discourse when you think about television and media. You know, it's so superficial. We want the slay queen, we want the this, we want the that. Do you find that as somebody who's an actor that there is a space for you to create work that will subliminally kind of challenge how we
perceptions and
whatnot?
I think it can only be up to me to create that work. I can't expect anybody else who doesn't understand or isn't in the space, living in the space, to create work for me. I absolutely agree 100% that it's talent first, and then, you know, everything else afterwards. But then there is a more of a challenge in terms of, I guess, in our space, that you do have to kind of create to normalize everything. So imagine if, like, all of us, including everyone online, were in one movie and it was completely normal. People would freak out, people would be weirded out, but we're the only ones who can do that. In fact, maybe I'm planting a seed here.
That is probably something. Because, I mean, particularly as well with you, Simba, because then, you know, do you feel that your career then became your career because you were an anomaly in that kind of way, in that space. And how do you define that momentum? Or is it defying it, or do you kind of propel it a little bit more because you use the space that you're given to give it more power?
You know, in the beginning, I would take any role or any gig that came along, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing my responsibility. You know, 'cause some of the roles, they were using my image
Yeah.
to make it like, you know, weird or spacey because of the way I look.
Yeah.
And I started learning that, you know, it's my responsibility as well to, you know, pick things
Yeah.
that, you know, are in line with my beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And my beliefs are that, you know, I would love to see one day on TV, you know, a guy with albinism who's a player.
Yeah.
And it's not the fact that he's got albinism, it's just he's a player.
Yeah.
Or he's a doctor. And
Yeah. He's a brother.
and
He's
the
just
role
a
is that
guy.
he's just that guy, like a
Yeah.
normal. And it's because most of the roles from the past have just been like, it's always focused on the albinism. You know,
Yeah.
they've made that the focal point and not said, but people with albinism are doctors, they're lawyers.
Yeah.
You know, they're bad people, you know, with albinism. They're good people.
Villains or
You know,
whatever.
Detectives, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I've learned to, you know, read and see, okay, is this what I want to represent? Because there's some things I've done I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
But it's part of my growth. And going forward, I've realized, okay, cool, you know what, people are going to want to use this image because it looks, strange and exotic and wow, it's going to capture people's, you know, attention.
Yeah.
So I've
It's what you do with that space.
Thank you.
To give it power.
So when you read the role, even if the advert or something, or someone's got a role in a movie, okay, do I want to be that person?
Yeah.
You know, is it something I'm comfortable with? You know, as someone with albinism, you know, knowing what I've gone through, right, and knowing the other people behind me.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a space now, you know, I got to be responsible for what I do and how I portray it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's difficult because sometimes it's exciting.
Yeah.
But you also think, okay,
There's another side to this.
are people going to see it the way I see it?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like my role in Blood Psalms. That one for me, I loved it.
Okay.
I don't care what people say. I loved doing it. It was phenomenal. I enjoyed the experience. I learned a lot from it, and I can't wait for people to see it. But it's something where it's like, oh, okay, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
This has been so empowering. Ingrid, I know you guys are still on the line, and I know you've got so much work that you still have to do. What are the future plans in terms of the work that you're doing in the I Am movement? Anything that we as the viewers can get involved in?
At this current moment, the I Am movement has actually, part of I Am movement, I'm actually a radio presenter for a show that is called Personified, which is a show that focuses on inclusivity from different perspectives. Oh my gosh, English. From different
It's fine,
perspectives. Score girl, get for a ship. But like I was saying, Personified basically focuses on marginalized groups within different parts of Africa and having to break those stereotypes and those misinformation that we have about, be it persons with albinism, persons with disability, young girls that are being married off at young ages and so forth. So that's basically the project that I've been working on ongoing. My radio show has turned a year old, so if people are interested in joining into a conversation that is about how we change, you know, the African perspective of certain things that we usually just brush under the table or brush under the carpet, and we just choose not to engage in such conversations. That is the platform that I am working on, which is part of I Am Movement. So if people are interested, you guys can log on to Impulse Radio Africa every Thursday evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central African time, of course. And that's myself and Lorraine Schumer basically having conversations around persons with disability, persons with albinism, but seeing how it is that we change the African narrative and Africans' perspective on how it is that we approach and how it is that we include such individuals into our mainstream media, into our mainstream communities, into our job spaces, and just make a world that is just more inclusive and more welcoming of everyone else, as opposed to, you know, shifting people to the side because they aren't seen as, and I say this in inverted commas, normal to what we consider to be a regular person within our society. So that's what I'm working on, and I'm hoping that people will get online. It's an online station to just get engaging, hear what people's perspectives and what people's thoughts are about various topics around different parts of Africa.
Sounds very exciting. I'll definitely share some of that detail also on our page. Thank you so much, Ingrid and Debatso, who have joined us virtually and just empowering us around this discourse that some people might not, fully understand because they're so scared to have conversations about things that they don't understand. But that's why we're here. And thank you so much for empowering us today. Debatso, all the best with your acting career as well. And we wish you luck in this new year.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been really, really refreshing
you.
being in your company.
Thank you.
I'll tell everybody about how great you guys smell. But thank you so much, more than anything, just educating us your personal stories. I think it's through personal story that we find resonance as well in the discourse, as opposed to speaking about it from the outside. I'm very enlightened about just the conversation and knowing how I can have the conversation with my kid and my child so that he's also empowered not to feel like he can't ask questions about something he doesn't understand.
Absolutely.
I wish you all the best in your careers.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see your role as well.
Blood songs.
And whatnot. And all the best with everything.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you also at home for joining us. And please, please, please keep joining my WhatsApp community on 068051 5462. I did want to also announce that this is our last episode for this season, but this is definitely not goodbye forever. But please keep sending us your questions, your comments, any topic that you might want to see in the new season. This is what we're there for on my WhatsApp line, which is 068051 5462. It's been amazing connecting with you guys and learning with you in the process. Please be kind to yourself. I absolutely love you. From me, the girl next door, Nala Piri. Cheers. Bye.